Okay. So, what can we present, I guess? Well, I guess we're not presenting anything. We just have to pit them against each other. Hold on. If there's an alternative explanation. Yeah, the knife, right? So it'd be these two things. She could have thrown the knife out the window and accidentally hit the woman. These two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief. You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain counsel at once. Juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, was found at the scene of the crime. Originated in Mr. Garrett's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrett household to the street below. Oh, what's that now? After all, Mrs. Garrett could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light. Perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As a foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us the yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What is it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrett household to the scene of the crime was... Juror number 4, Miss Garrett. Oh, what now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Oh. Good lord, counsel. What on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was launched into the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett were in throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrett was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against a window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the scene of the crime. You can't seriously believe that? The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Oh, my missus ain't got aim like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my! Ugh! Mrs. Garrett, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before, or not? Oh! Oh my gosh, he died. My lord! I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but... I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. I have to agree. Not that I think that the granny didn't mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. Yahoo! We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. We did it. Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative position of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrett household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrett's household to the scene is 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smouldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, travelled some 15 yards, to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching of the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I can say to that. The prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Miss Susato. Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, Juror number 4, Miss Joan Garrett, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! A cross-examination from a juror? Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand. Oh no, another wine bottle wasted. And unnecessary. Lord Van Zieks? There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. And my learned friend's partial theory has any truth in it. Then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown to the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir. Constable Roy Beat, reporting for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rolly, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith, before the court, any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. Constable Beats report. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, a London bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top-hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir! Sorry, but... what exactly is a top-hinged casement window? And you? You cannot excuse your ignorance with just trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Netholder. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow the air to circulate inside the house. Ah, okay, so they open from the bottom. But as it's a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. The casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents it from opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or a knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have flattened against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. No. You see the problem then? Good. Your education in windows is complete. There's never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. That can't be! You see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh, yes, my darling. I saw it. I saw how you crumbled before me. Hey, Rolly, you're so strong. How is this happening? Haven't even started with the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again. The court awaits your cross-examination. My lord... Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Constable Beats report. How can you say that for certain? A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder for all us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man, that's what the job is all about. And that's why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. All while rubbing my tires, I admittedly. Sir. Oh, Rolly, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then. Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get it through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you. I'll try. Okay. Warrant card. A small folding wallet that identifies London bobbies and contains the rules of conduct to which they must adhere. Okay, let's take a look at that really quick. Principles of policing. Item number 1. A policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Item number 2. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Metropolitan Police Regulations. Item 1. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. Item 2. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation to help detectives. Okay. So let's try to understand this. Since this is new information, it's probably going to be helpful. So the first one is, whatever district you're in charge of, whatever crimes happen there is your responsibility. That's what the first one says. When a crime is discovered on the beat, the policeman must assist with initial investigation to help detectives. So they have to help with whatever crimes they find. Preserving the peace and 20 miles beat. Okay. So those are stuff we knew, but now we have it written down. I guess to be able to use it later. By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see. So they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street below. For clarity, allow me to mark on the map. Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to get very far. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite of the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top encasement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. Oh. Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? Wake up. Constable Beat. Oh dear. Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with the interviewing on the occupants of the Garrett's household yesterday. The house is on my beat, you see, sir. That was really cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrett household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garrett's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would have never been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a bobby after all. Extraordinary people are bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. Do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all its hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure that we have information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Nightingale. I'll take care of it immediately. Case file. The pavement where the victim was found lies just outside Constable Beat's beat, the border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road. Okay, so right in the middle. Now it's my turn, I think. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star. Sorry? The star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. If it had seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said, 3 times at least. Of course, with the smog and everything, couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that's correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her. Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. So, I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. That's really hard to believe, actually. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the odds honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garrideb household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have gripping the book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photograph and print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about the statement that's not sitting right with me. So they arrived after everything happened, right? The two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really, I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Bees. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one. That was a very loud mutter. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks the policeman's wife is what counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. B. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Mrs. B, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw what I did that evening. I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back, slinking away from the scene. Ah. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction? Oh, yes, well, it's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly, so he gets ever so cross. Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, In a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening, that is all. You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine, but she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was gone so long was because of the bouquet, silly. The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Really so romantic. He saved up for it with his farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Oh, yes, how romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. And you, my darling. Yeah, yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. Well, what was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. You have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it into your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to. What happened was, I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over and saw it, was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked, I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice it first. And then you went to the police box to report it. To the policeman whose beat it was on? Yes, I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably. That's right, silly me. I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time, I can't think of how it really got there. I really can't. So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of the Briar Road to the opposite. So I'm guessing she remembered wrong, and the vixen's body was actually found on the other side, right? Isn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry, solitary rose? Oh, yes, that's it. That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with those bits of change he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Benzies, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garrett household. In front of the Garrett's house? Yeah, so the body must have been on the other side, so then everything makes sense now. Although it wasn't noticed until morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please? No, I think for good measure, this rose should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. Anniversary bouquet, a present for Patricia Beat from her husband Rolly. The shock of seeing the stabbed victim caused Mrs. Beat to drop the rose where she stood. Alright, let's take a look really quick. An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower. Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Do you want to take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruto? That'd be really interesting. Like, in that time, you would only, like... It's really hard to go to other places, right? So you'd only see, like, native flowers. And then you'd, like, never see a flower for, like, from another country. I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least. Gosh, 3? Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out, learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example. Okay, anything else to inspect here? Or there's a thing at the bottom? It's a very size paper the flower's wrapped in, isn't it? It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruto. Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. Ah, I see. Is something wrong? Oh, no, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Ah, Suzuta-san. You do love your cakes. That's funny. Anything else of note here? Probably not, right? Oh, I guess this is pointing at the paper. Let's see. Oh, okay, it's just the top again. So we can just skip this. Alright, let's get back to the investigation. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back. Oh, good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Miss Beat. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. What's also interesting too here is that if it's actually on the side of the Gerardep household, then it was actually part of Rolly's patrol, right? Oh, you helped in what way? Various members of the public were questioned in order to gather information about the case. That's right, sir. The sad truth is we were all overworked. So even though it wasn't under the jurisdiction of my own beat, I obviously wanted to help. I see. Well, thank you. Oh, is it my turn now? Okay, maybe we should go back and investigate that part. Unless I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. You mean you dropped your bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When I ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Molly gave me. Okay, so this is the same too. So when she picked it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. So she found it where she didn't think it was. Because she thought she was on the east side of the street, but they actually were on the west. Well, Miss Netalo, what do you make of all this? Yes. The whole idea of an invisible attacker has been troubling me all along, but I believe I'm starting to get the picture of really happened here now. The fourth book that had no business of being at the scene of the crime made me sure that Miss Gerardep was hiding something from us. But it's become increasingly clear that someone else had been hiding something from us as well. I think I may be armed with everything I need to strike a decisive blow here. This time, it's going to expose the whole truth about this mysterious affair. Okay, so let's save here because I only have one more try left. Just in case, and then let's get to presenting the evidence because I think we know what happened. We just need to do the right thing. It's always tricky about some of these. Didn't take out my app. Cranes me for a moment. Nothing strange to report. This is always the tricky part in these kind of things. Well, I guess okay. So maybe we present the roads at the end because they need to explain how the flowers magically move from the other side of the road, right? Oh, maybe they moved the body so that they didn't have to miss their anniversary. Oh. You claim, Constable Bede, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What? What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Bede, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby. Yes, on the opposite side of the Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described. No doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager? But if that were the case, why did Constable B not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable B swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It had nothing to do with the case. That's why I really didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is the mysteriously More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there was Mr. Garrideb's book. Mr. Garrideb's copy of the London Pride, which was thrown out by the window by his wife. Would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things. Unless somebody deliberately moved them. Ah. So that's what happened.
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. Would you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says? We're talking about our books and bouquets. What should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good. Mrs. Garrideb's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it. For a very subtle but compelling reason. Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend. Who could have possibly had the cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there's someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Okay. So it's both of them, and he probably switched it, right? Because he was the one there the whole time. Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat. It was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard?
Oh, what nonsense. Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is my only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Oh, well...
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there is only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something.
That's right, he's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You have offered no motive for this alleged tampering. Until you do. Your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve the mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not to point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stock warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive of this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, there That isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder whether this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, and the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? What? But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What didn't move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious! Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything back to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Dijk said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was the only bouquet. It was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Rowley beat.
Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again. I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rowley. Isn't it true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly. Order! What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Rowley, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of the London town. I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation. For why, on that particular evening, Constable Beak felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zieks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions. This, right? Because he didn't want to take on the case. He wanted to go to his anniversary. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, through honorable patrolling, the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford a simple gift for his wife. I was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal, when he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw the shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind?
But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot, being married to a bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card that the Constable Beat offered to lend me earlier. Inside, among the rules of patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat. Is that, or is that not, the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes. Everything you said. It's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh.
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you've done?
It was the first since I became a copper that had ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be looking somewhere.
As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then, it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation and help detectives. Why here? Why did this happen to be here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? It's a couple's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearby police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat, so we have to go to the police box that covers it, turn right along Merchant Street, and then... The hard life of a copper. Aww. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rowley. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would have never left the poor woman out on the freezing cold pavement.
Oh, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Rolly. That was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly.
And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total?
Oh, 4 it was. Yes, sir. Definitely 4.
3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean.
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir.
No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. The 4th book was in the victim's hand when Mrs. Beat first ran over to see what had happened. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you look at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord. Yes, Lord Van Zieks? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir.
Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
All right then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir. You mean to say?
Leave, now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir.
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there's some immutable facts here, principally that the accursed, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord Van Zieks, this is true. Very well. Name the person, if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You'll name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime. Ba-bam! She threw the knife out the window. The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again. My assistant made the same request earlier, in order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It is imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Miss Joan Garrideb.
Me?
Me?
Oh, dearie me.
That request has already been denied. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrideb, answer me this.
What you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garrideb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Broad Road.
Well, what of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the top-hinged casement below, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Miss Garrideb. This knife, this one removed from the victim's back. Have you really never laid eyes on it before?
Oh. I don't recall it.
Seriously?
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? Anyway, the man over there at Regalia said the members of the jury needed to testify, didn't he?
Conveniently, yes. No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4.
Oh!
Make no mistake. Your jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that is a common garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several knives like that at home. If one were missing, how would you expect me to know?
What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying, please, Miss Garrideb?
No, you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't have bear the thought I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it.
Oh, the poor woman.
So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop. Do your worst.
Well, Mr. Nadhona? If I have had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror.
Oh!
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zieks.
I'm going to have to testify.
Juror number 4. As I'm sure you'll appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Miss Garrideb. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Witness, state your name and occupation.
Yes. My name is Joan Garrideb. And I'm a juror, and such like.
It sounds like she doesn't even know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh, dear me.
Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Wasn't only you in that room that day, old thing, was it? But I think I ought to testify as well, don't you?
But what about your knee, dear?
Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
Oh, John.
I presume you are Mr. John Garrison? Yes, sir. Former 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers. Fossilizers, sir. I've seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. The quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Oh, well, yeah, quite. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once. The Battle of Garadeb. Alright. Oh, so I'm like for so long, and it just kept going, and I wanted to find a good place to stop. So this is as good of a stop as any, so yeah, we'll continue this next time, and we'll finish up this episode probably in the next one. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next stream. Goodbye.